Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Your one-stop destination for the most electrifying, jaw-dropping, and headline-making news and entertainment. And tonight we have an explosive story that's sure to have you talking for days. Get ready as we dive into the controversy and buzz surrounding Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show, a performance that not only captivated a record 133.5 million viewers, but also sparked a record 125 FCC complaints. That's right, folks. While the world was awed by Lamar's thought-provoking, boundary-pushing set last month, some viewers had a different reaction. In a twist that's as surprising as it is sensational, TMZ reports that 125 complaints were filed with the FCC over Kendrick Lamar's performance on February 9th, and these aren't your run-of-the-mill grievances. They range from accusations of a personal vendetta against rival Drake to claims that his set was divisive and, well, downright controversial. Over the next several minutes, we're going to break down every detail of this headline-making event, from the nature of the complaints and the cultural firestorm it ignited, to the comparisons with other Super Bowl halftime performances, and what all this means for one of the most influential voices in music today. So buckle up and prepare for a roller coaster ride through controversy, culture, and the power of performance as we explore Kendrick Lamar's unforgettable halftime show. Every year, the Super Bowl halftime show is one of the most anticipated events on the planet, blending live performance, spectacle, and pop culture like no other. This year, Kendrick Lamar took center stage, and with his unique blend of lyrical genius and raw energy, he delivered a performance that left millions of viewers in awe. But as the confetti settled and the replay reels began spinning, an unexpected twist emerged. A total of 125 complaints were lodged with the FCC regarding his set. Now, let's set the scene. The performance was a masterful display of artistry and social commentary, a moment where music met activism and where every note carried a message. Lamar's set included several of his signature tracks, including the Grammy-winning hit Not Like Us, a song that many interpreted as taking aim at his arch nemesis Drake. Yes, you heard that correctly. At least 10 of the complaints specifically accused him of using his platform to go after Drake. One complaint even claimed that Lamar's performance was nothing more than a personal vendetta. Talk about stirring the pot, but that's not all. Some viewers took issue with the language used on stage, accusing Lamar of having a potty mouth, while others claimed that his set was too divisive, allegedly featuring only black performers in a way that they found controversial. And if you thought that was the end of it? Think again. Serena Williams, who made a brief dancing cameo during the performance, was also singled out. One complaint even went so far as to accuse her of promoting gang affiliation with her famous celebratory dance. Now, that's a headline you don't see every day. As we dissect the controversy, it's important to note that the total number of complaints, 125, might sound alarming at first glance. But when you consider that Lamar's halftime show was watched by a staggering 133.5 million viewers, these complaints are, statistically speaking, just a tiny drop in the ocean. Yet, in the world of broadcast and public discourse, every complaint counts, and each one adds fuel to the fire of debate. Let's break down the nature of these 125 complaints. According to TMZ, the grievances varied widely, reflecting a cross-section of viewer concerns and social commentary. One of the most striking points of contention was the allegation that Lamar was using his set as a platform to settle scores. But with his rival, Drake, at least 10 complaints specifically mentioned that his performance, particularly his rendition of Not Like Us, was seen as a direct attack. Critics argued that instead of uniting the audience, his set seemed designed to air personal grievances. One complaint even labeled it a personal vendetta, suggesting that Lamar was more focused on beef than on delivering an inclusive message. But the criticisms didn't stop there. Several complaints took aim at Lamar's language and stage presence. Some viewers felt that his use of explicit language was inappropriate for such a widely viewed event, especially one that reaches a family audience. Others argued that his performance was too focused on a particular cultural narrative, accusing him of being divisive by only featuring black performers in a way that seemed exclusionary to them. Whether these claims hold water or are just a manifestation of misunderstanding and bias is up for debate, but they certainly add an extra layer of drama to the story. Even more surprising was the controversy surrounding Serena Williams. Known globally not just for her tennis prowess, but also for her cultural impact, Serena made a brief yet memorable appearance with a dance cameo that was intended to celebrate the spirit of the performance. However, at least one complaint claimed that her dance promoted gang affiliation. Yes, folks, a single dance move in a Super Bowl performance was enough to provoke such a reaction from some viewers. This just goes to show how in today's hyper-connected, highly opinionated world, even the most innocuous actions can be interpreted in wildly different ways. When comparing these complaints with past halftime shows, the context becomes even more fascinating. For instance, Rihanna's 2024 halftime show resulted in just over 100 complaints, while the 2020 performance featuring Jennifer Lopez and Shakira led to over 1,300 complaints. Clearly, each performance is a unique cultural event, and the volume of complaints can be as much a reflection of the cultural moment as of the performance itself. For Kendrick Lamar, 125 complaints in front of 133.5 million viewers might be seen as a mere statistical blip, a testament to his ability to challenge norms and provoke thought, even if it occasionally ruffles a few feathers. Now, let's shift our focus to the man of the hour, Kendrick Lamar. Known for his lyrical brilliance, thought-provoking storytelling, and fearless approach to social issues, Kendrick has never been one to shy away from controversy. His music has always been more than just beats and rhymes. It's a powerful commentary on society, politics, and personal identity, and this Super Bowl halftime show was no exception. For Kendrick, performing at the Super Bowl is the pinnacle of exposure. With 133.5 million viewers, the pressure is immense, but so is the opportunity to make a statement, and make a statement he did. His decision to include tracks that many interpreted as a diss toward Drake wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment choice, it was a calculated risk meant to stir conversation, challenge the status quo, and assert his artistic voice on one of the biggest stages in the world. When you watch Kendrick perform, you're not just seeing a musician, you're witnessing a cultural force in motion. His performance was a blend of raw energy, intricate choreography, and a narrative that pushed boundaries. The very fact that his set garnered 125 FCC complaints is, in a way, a badge of honor. It shows that he's willing to push the envelope, to tackle sensitive topics head-on, and to use his platform as a catalyst for discussion. In an era where many artists play it safe to appease a broad audience, Kendrick's boldness stands out as a refreshing, and for some, a polarizing approach. But let's be honest here, with great art comes great controversy. In today's digital age, where every moment is recorded, analyzed, and shared across millions of screens, even the most groundbreaking performances can spark heated debates. And that's exactly what happened on February 9th. While millions celebrated Kendrick's artistic vision, others, through 125 formal complaints, made their voices heard in a very different way. It's a reminder that art is never without its critics, and that sometimes the impact of a performance is measured not just in applause, but in the discussions it ignites. To truly understand the magnitude of these 125 complaints, we have to consider the cultural context in which they were made. The Super Bowl halftime show is more than just a musical performance. It's a cultural event that unites millions of viewers across the globe. It's an event where families gather, where millions of conversations spark, and where the stakes are as high as the ratings. In this context, every action on stage is magnified and every word is dissected. When Kendrick Lamar took the stage, he knew that his performance would be under intense scrutiny, and while many celebrated his bold, unapologetic approach to music, others viewed his artistic choices through a different lens. The complaints about his alleged vendetta against Drake, his use of explicit language, and the perceived divisiveness of his set reflect broader debates about the role of art in society. Should artists use their platforms to address personal grievances? Is it acceptable for a performance to prioritize social commentary over pure entertainment? These are questions that have been debated for decades, and Kendrick's performance has only added fuel to that fire. Moreover, the complaints highlight a fascinating dichotomy. While millions of viewers were moved by Kendrick's words and inspired by his performance, a small but vocal group saw it as an affront to their expectations of what a Super Bowl halftime show should be. One of the most explosive elements of the controversy surrounding Kendrick's performance is the allegation that he used his platform to take shots at his longtime rival, Drake. At least 10 complaints specifically mentioned that his performance, particularly the inclusion of "Not Like Us," was interpreted as a diss aimed at Drake. For those of you who have followed the storied history of beefs in hip-hop, this isn't entirely unexpected. Rivalries have been a part of the genre since its inception, and artists often use their music to call out competitors. But here's the twist. Many fans argue that Kendrick's approach was not about personal vendettas, but rather about reclaiming his space as an artist who speaks his truth. When you watch Kendrick perform, you see a man who is unafraid to address complex issues head on, even if that means ruffling a few feathers along the way. The very act of challenging a rival on such a massive stage is emblematic of his fearless approach to art, and while the complaints may label this as a personal vendetta, others see it as a bold statement of artistic integrity. It's worth noting that in the world of hip-hop, disses are often part of the narrative, a way for artists to assert dominance, push boundaries, and spark conversation. In Kendrick's case, the decision to include a track that some believe dissed Drake was likely a calculated risk, one that has now become a talking point among critics and fans alike. Whether you see it as an act of rebellion or a needless provocation, it's undeniable that it has added another layer of complexity to an already controversial performance. To truly gauge the significance of these 125 complaints, we need to put them in context with previous Super Bowl halftime shows. Consider this: Rihanna's 2024 halftime show garnered just over 100 FCC complaints, while the 2020 performance by Jennifer Lopez and Shakira led to more than 1,300 complaints. In the grand scheme of things, Kendrick Lamar's 125 complaints are a modest figure. Out of 133.5 million viewers, these complaints represent a tiny fraction, a statistical drop in the bucket. Yet, in the world of broadcast and regulatory bodies like the FCC, even these small numbers can ignite a firestorm. Complaints to the FCC aren't just numbers, they're a barometer of public sentiment. They reflect the intensity of viewer reactions and the cultural impact of a performance. In Kendrick's case, the fact that his set drew 125 complaints is a testament to the polarizing nature of his art. For some, his performance was a masterpiece of social commentary and artistic expression. For others, it crossed the line into controversy. This comparison with past halftime shows also highlights how subjective our reactions to live performances can be. Every year, the Super Bowl halftime show becomes a cultural touchstone, and no matter how spectacular a performance might be, there will always be a segment of the audience that finds fault. What sets Kendrick apart, however, is the sheer intensity of his artistic vision, a vision that some love and others vehemently oppose. Let's take a moment to talk about the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. The FCC is responsible for overseeing broadcast standards and ensuring that content aired on television meets certain criteria. When complaints are filed, the FCC must review them and determine whether any regulations have been violated. In the case of Kendrick Lamar's performance, 125 complaints were enough to put the matter under scrutiny. Now, some critics argue that the FCC's complaint system is inherently subjective, a tool that can sometimes be misused to stifle creative expression. After all, if 125 out of 133.5 million viewers take the time to file a complaint, does that really indicate a widespread problem, or is it just the vocal minority making their displeasure known? This question is at the heart of the debate over freedom of expression versus public decency in live broadcasts. For Kendrick, these complaints are simply a byproduct of doing what he does best, challenging the status quo and pushing boundaries. They may provide fodder for debate, but they also underscore the fact that his performance resonated on a deep level, even if not everyone agreed with his message. And while regulatory bodies like the FCC will continue to monitor such performances, it's clear that the conversation around artistic freedom and public standards is far from over. Kendrick Lamar has long been celebrated for his unyielding commitment to artistic integrity. His music has consistently pushed the boundaries of conventional hip-hop, offering incisive commentary on social, political, and cultural issues. In many ways, his Super Bowl halftime show was a culmination of that legacy, a bold, unapologetic performance that dared to confront controversy head-on. For supporters, the 1-25 FCC complaints are not a blemish on his record, but rather a badge of honor, evidence that he isn't afraid to ruffle feathers or challenge the norms of mainstream entertainment. They see him as a trailblazer, someone who uses his platform to spark meaningful discussions, even if it means facing backlash from a minority of viewers. Conversely, critics argue that when you're performing on a stage as monumental as the Super Bowl, there's a responsibility to appeal to a broad audience, including families and viewers of all ages. They contend that Kendrick's performance, with its explicit language and divisive messaging, may have crossed that line. This clash of perspectives is a microcosm of a larger cultural debate. Should artists always tailor their performances to meet public expectations, or is there room for raw, unfiltered expression, even if it's polarizing? Kendrick's legacy, as many would agree, is built on his willingness to take risks and to speak truth to power. And while the complaints might raise eyebrows among some, they also serve as a reminder that great art rarely goes unnoticed. No matter how controversial it may be, in the end, it's up to each of us as viewers to decide whether these complaints diminish the impact of his performance or simply underscore the power of his message. No major cultural moment is complete without the explosive reaction of social media, and Kendrick's halftime show is no exception. Within minutes of the performance, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook were set ablaze with reactions ranging from fierce support to scathing criticism. Fans took to social media to express their admiration for his fearless performance, hailing it as a masterpiece of artistic expression. Memes, reaction videos, and long-form posts dissecting every lyric and movement flooded the internet. One viral tweet read, "Kendrick Lamar just proved why he's the voice of our generation. 125 complaints? More like 125 reasons to celebrate his genius." On the other side of the spectrum, some viewers expressed their dismay. Critics argued that the performance was too provocative for a family-friendly event like the Super Bowl. They pointed to the explicit language, the perceived personal vendetta against Drake, and even Serena Williams' cameo as points of contention. These divergent opinions sparked heated debates online, with hashtags like the Kendrick controversy and halftime debate trending for hours. What's remarkable about this digital firestorm is that it underscores the power of live performance in shaping public discourse. Every tweet, every post, and every comment contributed to a larger conversation about artistic freedom, cultural responsibility, and the role of major events like the Super Bowl in reflecting our societal values. And while the FCC complaints have become a talking point, they also serve as a snapshot of how diverse our cultural landscape is, where one performance can simultaneously inspire millions and offend a vocal minority. This dynamic interplay between support and criticism is what makes moments like these truly unforgettable. To put things into perspective, let's compare Kendrick's performance to previous Super Bowl halftime shows. In 2024, Rihanna's halftime performance garnered just over 100 complaints, a relatively modest number considering her global fan base and the scale of the event. In contrast, the 2020 halftime show featuring Jennifer Lopez and Shakira saw more than 1,300 complaints, a figure that shocked many critics and industry insiders alike. So where does Kendrick's 125 complaints stand? Statistically, it's a small number when you consider that his performance was witnessed by 133.5 million people. In the grand scheme, 125 complaints represent a tiny fraction of the total audience. Yet the fact that any complaints were filed at all indicates that his performance struck a nerve that resonated differently with various segments of the audience. This comparison raises an interesting question. What makes a halftime show controversial? Is it the content, the delivery, or simply the heightened expectations of an event that attracts global viewership? For Kendrick Lamar, his performance was a bold blend of musical mastery and social commentary, a combination that, by its very nature, is bound to polarize opinion. And while some may see those 125 complaints as a sign of controversy, others view them as proof that he pushed the envelope in a way that only true artists dare to do. At its core, art is meant to challenge, provoke, and inspire. Kendrick Lamar's halftime show was no different. It was a performance that dared to ask difficult questions, to address sensitive topics, and to confront the audience with uncomfortable truths. When an artist of Kendrick's caliber takes the stage, there's always the risk that his message might not resonate with everyone, and that's perfectly okay. In an era where mainstream media often favors sanitized, predictable performances, Kendrick's raw, unfiltered approach stands as a testament to his commitment to authenticity. His use of explicit language, his pointed references, and even the controversy surrounding his alleged dices were all part of a larger narrative, one that sought to spark conversation and to force viewers to confront the complexities of modern culture. Some critics argue that by stepping outside the conventional boundaries of what's acceptable at the Super Bowl, Kendrick risked alienating a portion of the audience. Others contend that his performance was a necessary departure from the norm, a bold statement that reflects the evolving landscape of music and cultural expression. In this light, the 125 FCC complaints become less a measure of failure and more a reflection of the challenges that come with true artistic innovation. For Kendrick Lamar, controversy has long been a part of his journey. His discography is filled with tracks that challenge the status quo, confront societal issues, and push the boundaries of traditional hip-hop. This halftime performance, with all its bold choices and inevitable backlash, is yet another chapter in a career defined by fearless self-expression. Rather than tarnishing his legacy, the 125 FCC complaints have, in many ways, solidified his reputation as an artist who is unafraid to take risks. In a world where many performers play it safe to appease a broad audience, Kendrick's willingness to push the envelope is what sets him apart. His performance was not about appeasing everyone, it was about staying true to his artistic vision and using one of the largest platforms in the world to speak his truth. And while some may focus on the number of complaints as a negative metric, for fans and supporters, these complaints are simply part of the cost of challenging the norm. They are evidence that his art has the power to provoke strong emotions, both positive and negative, and that is in itself a sign of greatness. In the grand tapestry of his career, 125 complaints are but a small, albeit noisy, thread in a rich, complex narrative of innovation, resilience, and undeniable talent. Beyond the realm of music and entertainment, Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance has ignited a broader cultural conversation. At a time when society is deeply divided on issues of race, identity, and free speech, his performance served as a microcosm of these ongoing debates. The criticisms leveled at his set, ranging from allegations of divisiveness to claims of inappropriate language, mirror the larger societal challenges we face today. In many ways, Kendrick's performance was a call to action, a reminder that art has the power to reflect the complexities of our world and to challenge us to think critically about the messages we consume. Whether you agree with his approach or not, there's no denying that his performance sparked dialogue. It forced viewers to question what they expect from a halftime show, what role art should play in shaping public discourse, and how we define acceptable expression in an increasingly diverse society. This cultural conversation is vital. It shows that the impact of a single performance can extend far beyond the confines of a television screen. It can influence public opinion, shape policy debates, and even inspire a new generation of artists to speak their truth without fear. In this light, the controversy surrounding Kendrick Lamar's performance is not merely a footnote. It's a reflection of the times we live in, a time when art is both a mirror and a catalyst for change. As we look toward the future, one has to wonder, how will this controversy shape future Super Bowl halftime shows? Historically, these performances have been the epitome of mainstream entertainment, polished, unifying spectacles designed to appeal to the broadest possible audience. But in recent years, we've seen a shift. Performers like Kendrick Lamar are challenging the status quo, pushing boundaries, and infusing their sets with layers of meaning that go far beyond mere entertainment. The 125 complaints might prompt broadcasters and the FCC to re-examine their guidelines, sparking debates about what is acceptable on one of the world's largest stages. Or they might simply be viewed as an inevitable consequence of a performance that dared to be different. Either way, Kendrick's halftime show has set a new precedent, one that suggests future performances may lean more into raw, unfiltered expression, even if it risks controversy. This potential evolution is exciting. It signals that the Super Bowl halftime show could become a platform for artistic experimentation and cultural commentary, a place where legends are made not just through musical spectacle, but through bold statements that challenge viewers to think differently. And if history has taught us anything, it's that change, no matter how contentious, is often the first step toward progress. As we look to the future, one thing is clear: live performances will never be the same. Kendrick Lamar's halftime show, with all its controversy and acclaim, is a harbinger of a new era in entertainment. It's a call to artists and producers alike to embrace bold storytelling and to not shy away from exploring themes that challenge conventional wisdom. For the industry, this means that the next time you tune into a Super Bowl halftime show, you might just witness a performance that is even more daring, more provocative, and more unapologetically authentic than ever before. The landscape of live performance is evolving, and Kendrick's show is a shining example of how art can break barriers, inspire debate, and leave an everlasting impact on our culture. In the end, what do these 125 FCC complaints really tell us? They tell us that in a digital age where every moment is scrutinized, art still has the power to surprise, provoke, and move us. They tell us that even when only a few voices are raised in dissent, the conversation around art and expression remains. as vital as ever. And most importantly, they tell us that the legacy of an artist like Kendrick Lamar is not defined by numbers, but by the impact he has on our hearts, minds, and culture. Kendrick's performance was a bold, unapologetic declaration of artistic freedom, a reminder that true greatness often comes wrapped in controversy. And as we move forward, let us celebrate the courage it takes to speak one's truth, to challenge the norm, and to create art that resonates deeply with every soul it touches. I want to turn it over to you, our incredible viewers. What did you think of Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show? Do you believe that his performance was a masterful act of artistic rebellion, or do you think it went too far? How do you feel about the 125 FCC complaints? Is it a sign of cultural progress or a setback for family-friendly entertainment? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop your comments below and join the conversation. Your voice is what makes this community so vibrant, and together, we can explore the many layers of this unforgettable performance. As we close tonight's deep dive into one of the most talked about moments in Super Bowl history, let's remember that art is meant to challenge us, to provoke thought, and to stir emotions, sometimes all at once. Kendrick Lamar's performance may have sparked controversy, but it also ignited a dialogue about creativity, freedom, and the power of expression. It's a reminder that in a world of 133.5 million viewers, even 125 complaints are just a small part of a much larger ongoing conversation about what art should be. In the end, let this be a celebration of creativity in all its forms. A salute to the artists who dare to push boundaries, and to the audience that listens, debates, and grows. From every performance, thank you for joining me tonight, and it has been my absolute pleasure to guide you through the twists and turns of Kendrick Lamar's unforgettable Super Bowl halftime show. If you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another explosive update from the world of entertainment. Until next time, keep your minds open, your hearts inspired, and never stop celebrating the power of art. Good night, and thanks for watching.